feel like I'm getting deja vu. This is like a rock war number 2. A rock war number 2. I like to look at those oil supplies. I'd be ashamed if someone invaded you. If someone invaded you. And I ran so far away. Above my head, above them night and day. But this for USA. A drone appears above your head. A mower bomb comes falling down on you. Falling down on you. The fleet is moving nearer still. The Strait of Hormuz, it comes in view. The oil must flow through. And I ran so far away. The bomb I bomb them night and day. But destroy USA. A tiny hand hits a big red button. Atomic bombs come falling down on you. Mushroom clouds in view. Send out a tweet to let you know. World War III, 'cause Israel told me to. All for Netanyahu. And I ran so far away. Bomb I ran, bomb night and day. And I ran so far away. Bomb I ran, bomb them night and day. But destroy USA.
Alrighty then. I don't know who came up with that. I don't know, but that fucking killed me when I saw it. Yes, we bombed Iran. That's what we did on Saturday night. I hope you guys enjoyed that little clip. That was Brooks is late, so he has to be on the bottom tonight. So high price to pay.
I just want to say that, Brooks's stardom is bursting at the seams. He did an hour on Coast to Coast AM. Now he's always late because he's got a house full of dancing girls doing blow and everything else he needs to set his alarm.
Yeah, his security clearance got blown. Literally, it got blown. Yeah. If I ever told you guys this story, speaking of toxically masculine, there was a girl when I lived in Redondo Beach. At the same time, I was going through a very intense security clearance for a relatively high level security, including lie detector tests. Now, this girl had performed in adult films, let's put it that way, and had a recognizable name at the time. And we used to see each other once in a while. I took her to the Sex Pistols in Vegas, and one night she comes over. She's obviously had Italian food for dinner, and she starts doing blow on my coffee table. And at that moment, I thought to myself, Brooks, the bloom is off the rose. I really think I really think this is probably the last time we're going to hang out. Now, she's a sweet girl. Marlena, if you're out there, I still love you, and I hope everything worked out well for you. So, just for some reason, you reminded me of that whole experience. It's like she just wasn't putting the effort in anymore, All right, here we are. Welcome to Real News Live. This is a Toxically Masculine Tuesday. I'm your host, Mike Bara, in Las Vegas, Nevada, #1 fan of the Super Bowl world champion Seattle Seahawks, Mike Bara. I am here, joined as I always am by the usual crew. The man immediately to my right needs no introduction, the trail boss, somewhere in nowhere, Fuckville, Arkansas, puffing on his pipe, Steve Doran. Please, Steve, how you doing? And I heard you had a Coke this week.
I did. I haven't had a pizza for about a year. I haven't had a Coke for probably 2.5, 3 years, maybe longer. And so I'm eating this pizza and I'm like, I'm having a Coke. And that one turned into 2 and 2 turned into 3. So
damn.
That was my horrible diet change for the day.
All right. And, it's okay to have a cheat day, Steve. It's not going to kill you. And the man in the Hollywood Squares immediately beneath him is, of course, the most intelligent member of the group, the smartest guy in the room. I said in my famous interview now with AJ Gentili of the Y-Files, which has more than 1.3 million views at this point, that when I walk into a room, I always pretty much feel like I'm the smartest guy in the room. Now, there are always people that know more about a specific subject than I do. For instance, Steve knows way more about guns than I do, as a for instance. But overall, I feel like I'm the smartest guy in the room. And I just want to say, Brooks, when I'm in the same room with you, I do not feel that way.
Well,
so, welcome to the show. What are you drinking, and how's everything in North Carolina tonight?
Wow, everything in North Carolina is really, really good. Weather's great. I'm not drinking anything right at the minute because I was a little rushed and my fridge is over there. So I probably would like to stand up and go get something. But everything is going great. Everything is fine here. Everything is under control. No problems here.
I'm really amazed that you're talking to us, Brooks. I really am.
Yeah. 007 doesn't ever smoke a pipe that I'm aware of, unless he does
when he's the trail boss. He does.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're looking good. You're looking good.
Right. And in the lower right-hand position in the Hollywood Squares tonight, our friend, the owner of the finest strip club in Nashville, Tennessee, the Lickety Split. Bark. TV's Blake Wally. Blake, how you doing tonight? Had you seen that Iran video? And what did you think about the part? I especially like the part. I thought this was for Blake, where he says, "I do what Netanyahu told me to do," or something like that. What did you think of that video? Have you seen it before?
I did. When that came out, I did scrolling through Twitter. It is pretty exceptional. I love what the AI can do with these videos. So it's also bringing back MTV, which is now gone. Yeah. So that's a classic 80s
What would
song.
we do without AI?
I don't know, but there'd be a lot fewer hot Persian girls dancing the Trump dance. I'll tell you that, because most of them are AI. It amazes me how many people can't recognize when something is AI. I mean, there are guys out there, literally guys out there that think they're in relationships with AI bots.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you notice every picture she posts, the background is different? That's because AI created it. It's not her house. She doesn't have a house with 36 different rooms, okay? I'm just telling you. Figure it out.
What cracks me up is these guys, they'll get like a Facebook message.
Yeah.
And it'll be some hot looking AI or, somebody else's picture. It'll be like, hi. And they'll say, oh man, this gorgeous girl is, trying to hook up with me. It's like, you're an idiot.
No, she's not. All right. Last Saturday night, to no one's surprise, in the early morning hours of Saturday, actually, the White House, the United States, launched a missile strike on the formerly Islamic nation of Iran. We're going to talk about that. It is the most important geopolitical thing going on in the world right now, quite obviously. And it is really interesting what happened. President Trump came on and announced the attacks. He'd been trying to negotiate a deal with them to give up all of their nuclear ambitions in return for saving their lives. And when they didn't do that, he turned them into mincemeat. Let us watch President Trump and listen to him, what he had to say.
The United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries. Among the regime's very first acts was to back a violent takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding dozens of American hostages for 444 days. In 1983, Iran's proxies carried out the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel. In 2000, they knew and were probably involved with the attack on the USS Cole. Many died. Iranian forces killed and maimed hundreds of American service members in Iraq. The regime's proxies have continued to launch countless attacks against American forces stationed in the Middle East in recent years, as well as U.S. naval and commercial vessels and international shipping lanes. It's been mass terror.
Stop.
And we're not going to put up with it any longer. From Lebanon to Yemen, Syria to Iraq, the regime has armed, trained, and funded terrorist militias that have soaked the earth with blood and guts. And it was Iran's proxy, Hamas, that launched the thousands of people, including many Americans.
We know all that. But the bombing action was extremely popular. It was actually, I think, the most popular in Iran, with the Iranian women who are now free to pose with their Iranian flags. And we gotta give a shout out to those Persian girls, and even the AI Persian girls like this one right here. Thank you. Who says there's no good uses for AI? I mean, come on. Come on, guys. All right. Lots to get into with this to start with. One of the things the president, I should have had it a little more prepared. One of the things the president said is, at the moment, there will be no troops on the ground. And that's really interesting because guess what? It looks like, Brooks, that we're finally doing what I've been bitching and complaining about for weeks, months now. And they're actually going to start arming. In this case, apparently, they're going to arm the Kurds in the north of Iran. Let's listen in on CNN a little bit.
Working to arm Kurdish forces to stage some sort of a major ground operation going inside Iran. They want to spark an uprising. The details are incredible. What are you learning?
That's right, Erin. It's a lot to unpack. Honestly, this story continues to develop at a breakneck speed and often in mind-bending ways. We spent some time this evening with a senior Iranian Kurdish politician here in Iraqi Kurdistan, who basically told us that the expectation among Kurdish Iranian opposition forces is that they will be going into Western Iran as part of some kind of a ground operation over the course or at some point during the next few days, that they will have support from the U.S. and from Israel, though he would not be drawn as to what exactly that support will look like. He also told us that President Trump himself had called the leader of the KDPI, which is one of these Iranian Kurdish opposition parties, today, and that they had what he categorized as or characterized, I should say, as a positive conversation. Though again, he did not give any details, and he said that we should be prepared for some surprises potentially tomorrow. Again, not giving details, but this is all coming at the same time as our colleagues Natasha Bertrand, Elena Treen, and Zachary Cohen are learning that the CIA has been working to arm Iranian Kurdish opposition forces with the goal of fomenting civil unrest in Iran. And
okay, so that's happening, and of course the memes have been coming fast and heavy. And here's the actual result. The reality is, Donald Trump killed Khamenei the first 2 hours of this whole thing. Trump and Israel, I guess, together killed Khamenei. They replaced him. They killed the next guy. They killed 40 or 50 of their top military leaders. And then they all met in Qom today, or Qom, or whatever the fuck it's called, Qom. And they got together to elect another supreme leader, and they blew that building up while they were meeting there, too. So, all right, it's off to a good start. But the issue here, Brooks, that everybody, of course, is curious about is there going to be American troops on the ground? And is this going to be a long-term, drawn-out war like the Iraq War was? I think no, because the Iraq War was always about the revaluation of the dinar and making a ton of money off of that for the deep state. That has been squashed. I say no, and we're going to get the Kurds, apparently, to do our fighting for us. We're finally giving them some guns. I'm encouraged by that because it's what I want. Am I crazy, or is this going to end up being another quagmire for the U.S.?
I don't think it's going to be a quagmire, but let me take two parts of that sentence. Yes, there are going to be troops on the ground on the border between Iran and Iraq. And there is some fighting going on there as we speak. But that's going to be very short-lived. Trump's not going to get in a quagmire. But I will tell you, wars are significantly started from the air, but they are finished on the ground. And if the Americans need to work with the Kurds, the CIA work with the Kurds. Kurds are a significant population of Iran, and they've been fighting the IRGC for a long, long time. There's a big portion of the IRGC that's running in fail-safe. That is to say, they're running without any leadership right now. They're just launching to whatever targets that they can find. The issue is that Iran has a lot of inventory, a lot. And what they're trying to do is attrit that inventory so they can take Iran out as a military force in the world.
Okay, so they want to deplete that inventory. We're actually we're gonna talk about that next. Although I do have an emergency news flash. Iran has elected a new supreme leader.
Oh, damn it. Now Mike froze.
Oh,
here we go. You know, now we can talk about Mike. You know, he told that story at the beginning of the show. What he didn't tell you is that person was gay, was a male, and he's gay.
Well, the Muslim Brotherhood is largely gay. It's about 90% gay men.
Yes. But see, I'm thinking that they're not going to put any troops initially to do any sweeps or anything across the country. I think, as you stated, I think they're going to keep them on the border.
Yeah, they're there now, and there is fighting going on, but I think it's going our way substantially.
I think it's just to keep them. I think it's just to keep them from trying to cross the border and resupply. It's cutting off their supply line
or escape.
Right. I mean, that's what's happened in the past. Is they get resupplied, they escape, across the border, and as is typical U.S. policy, they don't chase them because it's a different country, and then it makes the thing go on forever and ever and ever.
I really like the press conferences that Rubio's been doing. He's been answering a lot of questions, and he's giving out tons of information as far as what our motivation is, what is our entrance strategy, what is our exit strategy, and it seems pretty short term to me.
Well, I think our ultimate goal is to arm the good side of the population and let them take care of their own mess.
I think it's a great opportunity for AI.
What people don't understand is what got Iran in the mess in the first place was, their equivalent of liberal women. And they thought that it would be a much better country to be a conservative Muslim country. And they're the ones who literally pushed to get the Ayatollah into power. So, they got 46, 47 years of hell because, they thought it would be a better regime. And it turned out to bite them in the butt because, just like with communism and everything else, the first people that they go after are the people women in Islamic countries, but the people who actually started the coup are the ones they take out first.
By the way, I'm back. Thank you for letting me back. And you know what? Once again, fuck Cox Cable for tracking all over my Mia Khalifa punchline. Fuck you guys very much.
Damn it.
Blake, I guess what I wanted, to do is ask you how you're feeling, about this whole situation. And, people are trying to say Trump is owned by Israel and he's doing Israel's dirty work and all that. And I got to be honest, I think there's plenty of reasons why, wow, that's too bright. Plenty of reasons why this was a good thing for the U.S., why we should take care of this problem. Among them, the Iranians have attacked their Arab allies, and now the Arabs are hitting back at them, apparently. And the Straits of Hormuz are going to be held open by the U.S. Navy. We've sunk a lot of their boats. And there's another thing I want to talk about that it's like an 8-minute video. It's too long, but it is a completely different perspective on what's going on here, which we'll talk. It's a different perspective. So I just kind of want to get what your position is on this and how you feel about U.S. involvement. Or do you feel better that we're just going to arm the Kurds maybe and let them fight?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. Yeah, I'm not, enthused about the whole thing. This wasn't supposed to be what Trump was about, is that it's going to be America first and we're not going to get dragged into any more Middle East wars. And we can't win a war through the air. It's going to have to be some boots on the ground. First, it was a few days. Now it might be, 4 or 5 weeks. That'd be great if they could just arm the Kurds. Iran is a huge country. So that's kind of one of the things, we think it's like 2.5 times the size of Texas. Now Texas is, there's so many different parts to it. Like different populations. You can almost split Texas into like 5 different parts, different philosophies, whether they're in Austin or, San Antonio, Dallas. But there's going to be similar things in Iran with 12 different factions and trying to keep everybody together. So if the whole thing falls apart, that could be problematic. Now the Kurds have been an ally for us, so that is promising, because I wasn't sure. Dr. Brooks has mentioned now that they're a sizable population. I didn't know how big that was, because you're going to have a power vacuum. And yeah, I think Trump had like people in mind he wanted to have for leadership, and then they keep dying. So we're just going down the list of like who's going to run the country now. So that could be an issue. I don't like the idea that we're teaming up. It feels like we were dragged into this by Bibi and Israel. And the only reason we preemptively attacked because we knew Israel was going to attack, and then Iran was going to attack us in retaliation. So I don't like the idea of a war criminal dragging us. You should be at the ICC, dragging us and our United States in our country into another war. This is the final boss. And yes, Iran is as weak as they've ever been. I guess the timing is there. It's just
you actually nailed it. This is the final boss, and we get these guys. We wipe this Islamic regime off the world map and allow the Persian people, who are mostly Christian and peaceful and beautiful, as you can see, to have their country back. I think 99% of the problems, and I'm not exaggerating, I think 99% of the problems in the Middle East go away. and it's no longer a powder keg. And there may be a reason for that. Before we get to that, I want to show you one more video going to Brooks's point about how they have all these bombs. And well, no, they don't.
Before you do that, I have a huge problem with them arming the Kurds. And you want to know why?
Yes, of
because
course.
the Kurds are Muslims.
Yep.
And when Muslims take control, there's no such thing as a good Muslim. There's no such thing as anybody involved in Islam that is good. So they're just as evil as the other Muslims. They still treat women like crap. They still, marry 9-year-olds and all that kind of stuff. So I don't want to see them armed. If you're going to arm somebody, arm the Persians who are not Muslims and allow them to take the country back over. But I do not want to see any more arms going to any Muslims, anybody who is anywhere remotely associated with Islam.
It's like it's like arming the Taliban, which of course
exactly. It's the same. It's the same thing. They're just as evil.
I see your point, and you do want to avoid a longer term conflict there, and you do want to arm the Persian people, which is what we should have been doing all along. But I was sitting there wondering when Trump says, "Oh, this is not going to be a prolonged war, and it's time for you, the people of Iran." He didn't say the Persian people; he said the people of Iran to rise up and take the government.
You're going to arm the Muslims,
right?
Who are going to do the same shit,
right?
That the regime now is doing. They're a different type of Muslim, but they're exactly the same. They rape women, they stone women, they do all those horrible, hideous, pedophile stuff. But they just do it in a different part of Iran.
But Steve, they're the better communists.
Right. I say carpet bomb them along with the current regime.
Okay, well, let's go to Brooks. Let's go to Brooks's earlier point about the missile supply in Iran, and apparently it's not nearly what people say it is. There have been posts on Twitter all day. Oh, the U.S. Our weapons cost way more than theirs, and we're using them up, and we're out of ammo. The bull fucking shit.
Well, you know that our arsenal, the missiles and the bombs and all those things that they're using have an expiration date, and I can assure you, they're using the ones that are close to expiring or possibly have expired.
Right, but let's listen to former General Jack Keane talking about that exact thing today on Fox News. Let's watch.
It's semantically degraded. A few things to note. One, the focus on leadership is going to continue every single day. And not just leaders at the top, which we've been focused on quite a bit, but second, third, fourth tier leaders as well. The intent is to strip the leadership, the governance, as well as the security forces leadership, the police leadership, the Basel militia leadership, strip that away because it's these people that sustain this regime. So that is going to maintain a focus. And now we've hit a meeting of their council that was attempting to vote in a new Ayatollah. So I just want to emphasize that these are not one-offs. This is a consistent mission to continue to strip away that leadership wherever they can find it. Two, the ballistic missiles are a primary focus, to be sure. That is the most lethal weapon that they have. And where we are, it exceeds a lot of expectations here. Yesterday, after 2 days, we have reduced attacks by 50%. Today, after 3 days, we've reduced the attacks by 75%. Not only that, this is from ballistic missiles now. And not only that, but the Iranians had, through their own intelligence and communication with each other, and obviously we have a capability to understand what they're communicating, what orders they're putting out. Their own expectation was salvos, Martha, 25 to 50 salvos. And the reason for that is if you shoot all those missiles at the same time, you're going to overwhelm the Israeli defense systems and overwhelm the U.S. defense systems at our bases. Well, they haven't been able to do that. It's 2 to 5. And also, we've had some coverage on Fox with provides testimony to that. We haven't seen a screen full of 10, 15, 20 missiles coming at Israel. We've seen a couple here and a couple there. And the good news is, only 10% of those are getting through. 14% got through in the 12-day war in June. And prior to that, when the Iranians attacked in April, it was in excess of 20. But fortunately, they were attacking only military bases in the desert, and much of that had been evacuated. But the Israelis were very concerned about all of that, as well as the United States. And that's why this operation has a different character to it, because from day one, they went after these ballistic missiles, as well as the drones.
Okay, so having said that, the reality is that if you look at the graph, the first day of the conflict, 350 ballistic missiles were launched, 175, 120, today 50. At the rate the curve is going, they'll be out of ballistic missiles in about 4 or 5 more days, if not sooner than that. So the reality is their military capability is vastly depleted. They have a few naval ships. I guess we sunk pretty much all of them.
17.
We're taking control of the Strait of Hormuz. And this is really interesting stuff, 17. And this is really interesting. So, Brooks, I mean, the reality is on the ground or in the air, it appears to me that it's the Iranians that are running out of ammo, not the United States. And they're going to be done pretty soon with this. Am I wrong about that?
Well, they are attributing the ammo for sure, but what they're really going after are the launchers. They have a limited number of launchers. They have a lot of missiles that they could shoot from each launcher. But as soon as one lights off, the satellites locate it, the jets are already in the air, they move in and destroy that launcher. So what's happening is they don't have places to launch. They don't even have mobile launchers anymore because we're taking them out. I still think they have significant inventory, and that needs to be rooted out of its underground bunkers and either dewatered or destroyed.
They're not getting them in the air, and that may
That's
be
right.
that may be the more significant part of this. And
there's 460 kilograms of enriched uranium we got to find too.
Yes, the new supreme leader of Iran once again is Mia Khalifa. So you may not recognize her because she doesn't have baby matter all over her face, but yeah, that's Mia Khalifa. All right. Guys, there is a different perspective on this, and it's really interesting. And basically, here's what it comes down to. I'm going to play you a video. It's a long video. We're only going to be able to play a few segments of it. But here's the essence of it. And it was actually supported today by something Trump said on Truth Social. What's been going on in the Middle East for the last 118 years is that British discovered vast deposits of oil in Iran 118 years ago. And they formed a company which eventually became British Petroleum. They conned the Iranians into signing a really bad deal where that oil belongs to the British now in perpetuity. And the Bank of London has basically been financing all of this conflict in the Middle East for the last 118 years. And when Trump takes out the mullahs, if they are removed and replaced by a truly democratic government or a government that's independent of London, that will break the back of the deep state in Iran. So let's switch over, and this lady is going to tell you a little bit about it. Let's listen to what she has to say.
Are falling on Tehran right now. This morning, the United States and Israel launched major combat operations against Iran. And while every talking head in the Western world is screaming that this is Iraq 2.0, listen to what the president actually said to the Iranian people.
To the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations.
Take over your government. It will be yours to take. That is not the language of regime change. That is not Iraq. And people screaming that are either lying to you or they don't understand what they're looking at. Right on cue, the New York Times editorial board is out shrieking that Trump is a madman who promised no new wars. The anti-war crowd on both sides is screaming regime change. They're all wrong, and I'll tell you why. This is not Iraq. Iraq was about installing a new set of imperial puppets. What Trump just hit is the last stronghold of a British operation that has controlled Iran's destiny since 1908, the year British Petroleum seized its first oil well on Iranian soil. For 118 years, every government in Iran, the Shah, the Ayatollahs, has served the same master, a financial architecture built by the City of London around Middle Eastern oil. And every war in that region has been designed to protect it. Donald Trump has spent the last year dismantling that architecture piece by piece. The Abraham Accords, the Board of Peace, $2 trillion in Gulf wealth redirected from London to American manufacturing, the Muslim Brotherhood designated as terrorists, Gaza being rebuilt. The mullahs were the last piece on the board. And as of this morning, Trump is clearing it. I'm Barbara Boyd. I've followed and studied wars in the Middle East ever since the Khomeini Revolution in 1979. And my colleagues at Promethean Action have tracked the British Empire's financial operations for over 50 years. So before I go even further, please like and share this video. It helps us break through the algorithm at a moment when you need this analysis most.
All right, let's give her.
Here's what I'm going to cover today. First, what this strike actually is and why J.D. Vance told us 2 days ago this would not become another forever war. Second, the 118-year British operation on Iran that the New York Times will never explain to you. And third, why this strike is the final move in Trump's Board of Peace strategy and what it means for the British financial empire. Let's start with what happened.
Okay, so this video is really good. It goes on for quite a while, but basically what she is saying is that the Bank of London, the banksters, have been behind this whole thing for the last over 100 years, almost 120 years. They are all moved off the board now. The U.S. and Donald Trump, who is apparently not a bankster, is in control of governments all the way through the Middle East. The Board of Peace is going to replace the United Nations. And this is a really interesting development. It may sound a little bit crazy that she put this out, but what happened, what she's saying, but what happened just tonight is Trump said in a True Social post that the U.S. Navy is going to begin escorting tankers through the Strait of Hormuz as soon as possible. And let's read it exactly. It says, effective immediately, I've ordered the United States Development Finance Corporation to provide at a very reasonable price political risk insurance and guarantees for the financial security of all maritime trade, especially energy, traveling through the Gulf. This will be available to all shipping lines. If necessary, the United States Navy will begin escorting tankers through the Strait of Hormuz as soon as possible. No matter what, the United States will ensure the free flow of energy to the world, the United States economic and military might, blah, blah, blah. And this is the Strait of Hormuz that he is talking about. Brooks, this is really significant for a reason. Does anybody know what the reason is?
Well, yeah, I mean, a quarter of the world's energy runs through that little spot.
Right.
But I have to tell you, there was a big course of fear mongers on CNN and everything were saying that Iran has shut down the Straits of Hormuz. No, they haven't. No, they haven't. They don't have a navy to shut down the Straits of Hormuz. Their navy's at the bottom of the sea.
Yep.
You know who shut the Straits of Hormuz down? The insurance companies. The insurance companies that Britain controls. They pulled all the insurance of all the ships, and no one will sail without insurance. What happens? President Trump steps forward and says, I'll provide the insurance. And that's why.
Exactly what he did. And I'll tell you what this does. This puts the wholly owned and paid for subsidiary of the Bank of London, Lloyd's of London, out of fucking business is what it is. He has just basically completely destroyed Lloyd's of London's control over the maritime flow of oil out of the Middle East. And that is the end of the banking cabal that has been running things. That's why this woman with her Interesting video, I think, is right. Steve, that's very high, very complex geopolitical strategy. But isn't that the kind of thing that Donald Trump is pretty good at in terms of business?
Well, you know, the Brits have been in bed with the Muslim community, like she said, since 1908. They've always sided with the Muslim countries, and they side with the Muslim countries because that's where all their oil comes from, and that's where all their money comes from. So shutting that down is going to put them in a very difficult financial position, as well as put the United States in a position to do harder. I'm trying to think of the word for it, but basically to negotiate with the UK, because obviously it's been taken over by Muslims. So is France. And so it puts us in a position, once they lose that money, once they lose that oil, to say, hey, look, you know, you guys, if you give control to the Muslims that you are now putting in charge of your country, we are going to bankrupt you. You're not going to have any money to do anything. And we're going to completely, you know, when I say put you out of business, you know, bankrupt your country and put you into such dire financial problems or dire financial straits that you won't be able to, you know, import a loaf of bread.
Yeah. Hang on.
He's already done that to Spain. Spain said, well, you can't fly your planes from our military bases. So Trump said, fine, won't trade with you anymore.
I'm not going to trade with you anymore. Blake, what do you think about this scenario where what Trump is actually doing here is not just a military strike, but taking down the last banking cabal bastion in the Middle East? I mean, all of these, if there's a cabal, right, if the banksters exist, they, a year ago, they had Ukraine that they could operate out of. They had Venezuela. They had Iran in the Middle East. They're about to have none of those. Where is there left for them to go at this point? And do you think that this is a bigger strategy that we're not seeing here that really doesn't have that much to do with Israel, but more to do with taking down the banks?
Yeah, there's definitely something to that. And those ladies do a terrific job. There's another one that does it. It's Promethean Updates.
Promethean
Updates, channel. Yeah, they do some really stellar journalism. And yeah, they've kind of opened my eyes into a lot of this, because a lot of us are thinking, oh, is it 5D chess, or is he sold out to Israel, or whoever, special interests? But yeah, there's absolutely something to what they're saying there. So they do present those arguments. That is how it's set up. And they are taking down that old world order. They did another video talking about another couple of major key players from Britain, Prince Andrew. And there was another guy, a financial guy that stepped down, that was also associated with Epstein. Like they used it. Like the two guys that went to Epstein, high level people within the British government or monarchy or what have you, stepping down. So yeah, you're seeing this old world. And then Keir Starmer, he's under fire, and they weren't opening their bases for America either. So you're seeing a shift now where we're getting away from Europe. And I hope there's a greater move here that we're not seeing. So I'm trying to give Trump the benefit of the doubt here. And we'll see what he does in this.
Well, it also puts places like Greenland, puts pressure on them to allow us to put military bases there and bring them into the protection of the United States. The best thing we could do is pull out of Europe completely, remove all of our troops, close our bases, and move them to Greenland.
Yeah, there is breaking news. Las Vegas Raiders quarterback Geno Smith has been sent to the Middle East. Has been sent to the Middle East to help overthrow the Iranian regime.
Oh, sorry. To make it, it's Lord Peter Mandelson.
Lord Peter Mandelson. Okay.
Yeah, he's a big financial guy, and then it's another associated with Epstein. So
Fuck
we're seeing
the
some of the
Lord.
Epstein guys fall in other countries, not here, but those are key players in this global strategy that the British have been playing for 100 years or more.
We don't like the Lords.
Yeah.
Gosh, you can hang them all.
Right.
I was gonna go, but okay, I'm not doing
It
that.
wasn't Les Wexner. We'll see how that plays out.
Okay. One other thing I wanted to mention is Steve Bannon, who has pretended to be an ally of Donald Trump. Turns out to be in the Epstein files, exchanging many emails with Epstein, hanging out with Epstein, going to his island. We don't know if he was involved in any perversions there, but he did go to the island. And talking about how they can set up and overthrow and impeach Donald Trump as far back as 2017. Blake, I want to start with you on this one. What did you think about these revelations about Steve Bannon? And I mean, he's still broadcasting his war room like this stuff doesn't exist. What do you think of this guy, and who do you think owns Steve Bannon?
Yeah, he's an opportunist. Yeah. I think he was doing this to get back at Trump. I don't know if we discussed this before, but when he was let go, when he was in the White House, I forget what his exact position was,
Advisor.
and then they got rid of him. I figured that's when he buddied up with Epstein to try to get dirt on Trump, and because they both hate Trump and they could work together, and they were, I guess, in cahoots on that front. I don't know if he did any, pervy stuff on the island, but he's certainly a shady character. And I've tried to think he's a good patriot, but these bring up a lot of questions. And we still haven't seen a lot of this interview footage. He was very close with Epstein, which is just gross on a number of different levels. But it just shows you also how he's willing to, get involved with some of the worst people as long as he can get some kind of benefit out of it. So, yeah, not good for Bannon. I don't know if he can fix it. He's going to need to fix his own image. He's worried about Epstein, but now it's his turn.
Yeah. Steve, what do you think about Steve Bannon? Is he trying to get back at Trump because he got fired, or did Trump fire him because he found out he was spying on him the whole time for Epstein? What do you think the story is there?
Well, I told you, we've had this discussion before. Steve Bannon is just an opportunist. He's a stooge. He was spying on the Trump administration. He got caught. He got fired. And so, he couldn't work on the inside anymore. So now he's working on the outside. He's not trustworthy. He's anti-American. He's not a conservative. And he works for the deep state. Always worked for this deep state. And, nothing's changed. He's just going a different route because he's not inside. He's not an insider anymore.
Yeah. I see his coverage now. Brooks, any thoughts on Steve Bannon? And don't you think his credibility is completely shot? I see people doesn't that also then sort of spill over to other people like Raheem Kassam and Jack Posobiec, who are so tightly involved with Bannon?
Yeah, I like Raheem. He's a good guy. We've had a lot of conversations on the air. I didn't like Steve Bannon going all the way back to 2016 when I went to Trump Tower to speak to them about the future of energy. This is before Rick Perry and all that. They were in transition, and I went to Trump Tower to meet with them. And I made it as far as, guess who was running all the meetings? Steve Bannon's secretary. I made it as far as her. And she very curtly told me that they'd already selected a Secretary of Energy. I said, I'm not talking about a political position. I'm talking about the future of energy, which, by the way, they are now doing, low voltage local supply. Trump came out and made a speech on it that he's going to let AI generate their own electricity rather than pull off the grid. And that's what I had in mind way back in 2016. But I did not like Steve Bannon going all the way back then because he was trying to control everything.
Steve Bannon literally looks like the creepy, dirty uncle who never takes a shower and molests his nieces and nephews. That's what he looks like. And it's like, you know what? It turns out that's apparently exactly what he was. Can I get an amen on that, guys?
Amen. And he starts one sentence 6 times before he says anything.
Yeah. That in itself is irritating. All right, gentlemen, let's get out of this. It's been an hour. Let's get out of this and go on, finish the show here. What do you think the odds are in a year? Is is the United States still involved in a military conflict in Iran, or is it over? And is there a reasonable new government in place in Iran? Let's start with you, Blake. What do you think? One or the other?
I'm going to say no. I think that's too difficult. That Iran is a huge country, and to get enough people, unless they want to divide it up. I mean, there's so many different ways that this could unfold. I think this is a power vacuum. It's going to take a long time to sort out, and hopefully it won't be too much of our problem, and we won't put our boots on the ground. That's all I can really hope for at this point, and that there won't be blowback, unintended consequences, and perhaps retaliation in any number of ways, including domestically if there's sleeper cells or what have you.
Well, there are sleeper cells. They are going to be activated very soon once it becomes apparent the government has fallen. But I do think we're prepared to deal with that. Brooks, what are your thoughts? A year from now, do we have a new, more free, peaceful government in Iran, or is the United States still involved in a quagmire there in Iran?
I think it's all over. Iran has been, ever since, for 49 years, they've been focused on one thing and one thing only, and that is eliminating Israel from the face of the earth. That focus is going to end, and Iran is going to start becoming the commerce center of the Middle East, as they always were destined to be. Even in the Old Testament, they were destined to be it. So I look for that. I look for them to stop being a military influence, and they're going to start being a commerce influence. And they're going to love it, and the whole world's going to love it. We're seeing the root of peace in the Middle East, and Donald Trump is heading it all up.
Okay. Steve, or Doran, what do you think? A year from now, is the United States still involved in a messy quagmire in Iran, or is there a reasonably stable, peaceful government that's living in harmony with its neighbors?
I think that Iran is going to be split up into multiple areas. By arming the Kurds, you're putting yourself in a very, very difficult position. They're still Muslims. They're going to fight against the Persian Christians. And so unless we get the Persians armed, unless we get them in a position of power very quickly, it's just going to turn into a quagmire. And even if we do get them armed, whether we have involvement or not, they're going to be fighting off, I call them the turds. They're going to be fighting off the turds because they're going to want to take control of the country. They're going to want to have their Ayatollah in power. And so unless we eliminate all these Muslim groups, across Iran, it's going to be a mess. You gotta get rid of them all. You can't have, we're just going to get rid of this cancer over here, but we're going to pump up this other cancer and let them run wild.
Yeah, you're right.
So all three of you guys think it's a mess a year from now. Is that correct, Brooks?
Well, I don't think it's going to be the same focus of a mess, which is the destruction of Israel, but it's still going to be an internal conflict. But I think it's going to be internal to Iran. They're not going to be fighting their neighbors.
Okay. I guess I'm the lone guy, the lone gunman here who says, yeah, I think we have a much better situation. I think we have a new government in Iran. I think that's what this is all about. And the British influence over the Middle East is terminated. I think the Shah, Reza Pahlavi, will be in charge. He'll be aligned with the United States and a little bit with Russia. And the important thing in all this is that we have now cut off 2 of China's 3 major oil suppliers. And
Correct.
Are now in some trouble. So I think a year from now, the geopolitical structure of the planet is going to be completely different because of Trump's actions. And I don't think it's going to cost us that much in terms of American lives. We shall see. All right, guys, that is going to wrap it up. Thank you for
one more thing.
Yes.
One more thing. When I was on Coast, I mentioned that I thought the Artemis 3, which is supposed to take place next year, should be canceled. I said, we're not ready for that. We haven't even tried to dock with the Starship. We haven't put a Starship on Moon. Yeah. We need to back up and stop. 48 hours later, NASA announced they are canceling Artemis 3.
Yeah. So Artemis 3 is a joke. NASA is a joke. How did I know NASA is a joke? Well, in 2006, I was working the best job of my life at Northrop Grumman. We were competing for the Orion capsule with Boeing. They awarded it to Boeing for completely political reasons. I got laid off. It changed a whole bunch of things in my life. But the reality is that if Northrop Grumman had been given that contract, Orion would have been flying 10 years ago. So
and we'd have been on the moon.
It's nuts what a complete clusterfuck this is. All right. Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate each and every one of you. And since this is Toxically Masculine Tuesday, I thought I would just give you a few seconds of.
Oh, yeah.
All right, guys, that's going to do it. We'll see you next week. Same bat time. Same bat channel.
Feel like I'm getting deja vu. This is like a rock war number 2. A rock war number 2. I like to look at those oil supplies. I'd be ashamed if someone invaded you. If someone invaded you. And I ran so far away. From my red, from them night and day. But this for USA. A drone appears above your head. A mower bomb comes falling down on you. Falling down on you. The fleet is moving nearer still. The Strait of Hormuz, it comes in view. The oil must flow through.
Uh-oh. Froze. Uh-oh. Froze again.
Good old Cox cable.
Hopefully they get the fiber in there soon.